Today we're going to be working with linear application problems. It should be N1-4. If you guys look, I'm going to skip problem number 1. I'll do that in class with you. So go ahead and look at problem number 2. It says Louise got scores 88 and 78 on her first 2 tests. What score must she make on her third test to keep an average of 80 or greater? So what we're asked to do is to write an equation or an inequality that uses that information, and then we're going to solve the problem. So using that information, I'm going to write the equation 88 plus 78 plus x, because I don't know what the third test is, and I'm going to divide that by 3. Again, that's how you're going to find your average. We add up everything that we have and we divide by the number of grades that we have for Louise. And then it says it's on an average, it's going to be 80 or greater. So that means I can include 80, but it can also be larger. So I should use the greater than or equal to symbol, and then I have 80. And now that I have the equation written, I'm going to solve it. So in order to get rid of something that is dividing by 3, I should multiply both sides by 3. So you should see the 3's in pink. That's going to cancel both 3's on the left-hand side of the inequality, and then I'm going to multiply 80 by 3. So what that ends up at is 166 plus x, because I added the 88 and the 78 together, is greater than or equal to 240. That 240 is multiplied from the 3 and the 80. And now in order to solve my equation, I have to get x by itself. So that positive 166, if I subtract it from both sides, I should end up with x is greater than or equal to 74. So to answer their question, Louise has to make a 74 or higher on her test in order to keep an 80 average. Okay, so let's look at problem number 3. Problem number 3 says a couple wishes to rent a car for 1 day. So we're only renting it for 1 day. So I want you to highlight 1 day. Okay, while on vacation, it says the Ford card rental wants $15 per day and 14 cents per mile, while Chevrolet for a day wants $14 per day and 16 cents per mile. After how many miles would the price to rent the Chevrolet exceed the price to rent the Ford? I also want you to underline the word exceed. Okay? So, in order for me to come up with my equation, I'm going to use the information for both the Ford car rental and for the Chevrolet for a day. Now, if I use the word exceed, I'm going to use greater than symbol. So here, when I use my Ford car information, it says I have $14 per day. Or excuse me, it says when I use the Chevrolet for a day, I have $14 per day at 16 miles. So that's plus 0.16x. And that needs to exceed or greater than whatever my Ford is, which is $15 a day plus the 14 cents per mile. So now I have an inequality, and you guys should be able to solve this inequality. So what I did is I subtracted my 0.14x from both sides, and that's going to leave me with 14 plus 0.2x is greater than 15. Now I need to move the 14 to the other side, so since it's a positive, I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides, and I end up with 0.2x is greater than 1. And what's my last step in solving an equation? I need to divide both sides by 0.2. So once I do that, I should have that x is greater than 5. So to answer the question, after how many miles would the price to rent the Chevrolet exceed the price to rent the Ford? It's after 5 miles. Okay, so go ahead and turn your page and look at problem 4. Okay, looking at problem 4, it says Steve is saving to buy a car. He has decided he will start looking as soon as he has saved $2,000. If he has $1,100 in savings now, and he can save $150 a month, how many months will it be before Steve can begin looking at cars? Okay, so it tells me I have to have $200 total in my bank. It also says I started with $1,100, and every month I'm going to keep adding $150. So my equation should read 2,000 is equal to $1,100 plus the 150x. And again, that's every $150 per month. So now I'm going to just solve this equation. So in order to get x by itself, I should subtract 1,100 from both sides, and I end up with 900 equals 150x. And the last step in solving an equation, remember I divide, so I divide both sides by 150, and my answer should end up being that x is equal to 6 months. So it takes Steve 6 months to save up in order to have $2,000 in his savings account. So let's look at number 5. All right, problem number 5 says LED Corporation produces a CD-RW drive at a cost of $120 each with a fixed cost of $36,000. The CD-RW drive sells for $180. How many drives must LED Corporation sell to break even? Any question that I ask that says to break even, that means I want my answer to end up being 0. So here, I want you to put on your paper that cost is equal to sell. What that means is the amount of money that I spend to make these drives, I should also be able to sell enough to where I didn't lose any money, but I also didn't earn any money. So in order for me to come up with the equation, I should have the 120x plus 36,000 is equal to 180x. The 120x comes from the cost of each CD, and then it tells me I have a fixed cost of $36,000. So the cost is on the left-hand side, and then it tells me I'm going to sell them for $180 a piece. So that is my selling side of the equation. So now I'm just going to solve for x. So I should subtract 120x from both sides. That leaves me with $36,000 is equal to 60x. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 60, and I should end up that x equals 600. So in order to break even, I have to sell 600 drives. Okay, and then the last question is problem number 6. I will work problems 1 and 6 in class tomorrow, so make sure you have all the notes copied down, and we'll work the rest in class.